This tiny Toyota HiAce looks like an ordinary van, but step inside and you'll discover something completely unexpected. There's a real bathroom, a fully equipped kitchen, and a surprisingly comfortable bedroom, all packed into this tiny Toyota camper. But how did they fit so much luxury into such a small space? Let's step inside and see just how much this tiny Toyota can really do. From the outside, the first thing you'll notice is just how compact this camper actually is. Based on the Toyota HiAce platform and the proportions visible here, we're looking at roughly 5.9 to 6 meters in length, around 2 meters wide, and approximately 2.3 to 2.5 meters tall, depending on the exact conversion and roof equipment. For reference, one high-roof Toyota HiAce configuration measures about 5,915 millimeters long, 1950 millimeters wide, and 2280 millimeters high, with a wheelbase of approximately 3860 millimeters. The exact dimensions of this finished camper may vary, but those figures give you a good idea of its overall footprint. And honestly, that's what makes this vehicle so interesting. You're getting the relatively manageable footprint of a van. But behind the driver's cabin is a living space that feels much closer to a complete motorhome. The high roof creates extra interior volume, while the camper conversion makes room for amenities you normally wouldn't expect to find in a vehicle this size. Outside, you can see large windows, a side awning, roof-mounted solar panels, additional roof equipment, and exterior storage. Every element seems designed around one goal, making a relatively small vehicle feel like a much bigger home on wheels. And that's where the HiAce platform makes a lot of sense. Compared with a massive Class A or Class C motorhome, a Toyota HiAce-based camper should be easier to maneuver through cities, tighter roads, and smaller campgrounds. Parking should also be less intimidating, and for someone who wants to travel without driving a giant RV every day, the smaller footprint could be a major advantage. But there's an important trade-off. Once you raise the roof and add furniture, appliances, water, batteries, solar equipment, and all the other systems needed for comfortable camping, the vehicle becomes taller and heavier than a standard van. So while it may still feel relatively easy to drive, you'll need to pay attention to height restrictions, loading, and the final certified weight. But enough about the outside. Let's see what happens when you actually step inside. The driver's cabin immediately reminds you that the foundation is still a Toyota HiAce. You have the familiar steering wheel, instrument cluster, central display, transmission controls, and dashboard layout. But turn around, and the character of the vehicle changes completely. Instead of a hard wall separating the cab from the living area, the front seats flow naturally into the main cabin. The seating area and dining table create a comfortable space where you can eat, relax, work, or simply sit back and watch the scenery through the large window. There's also overhead storage and warm interior lighting, giving the cabin a much more residential atmosphere. And this is an important detail. A good motorhome isn't just about having somewhere to sleep. If you're traveling for several days and the weather suddenly turns bad, you could spend hours inside. That's when a smart layout really matters. Here, the front seats become part of the living environment, the lounge serves multiple purposes, and the available space is used as efficiently as possible. But the real test of a compact camper is what happens when you start adding the essentials. And the first essential is the kitchen. Despite the limited footprint, the kitchen appears to include a dedicated countertop, sink, cooking equipment, refrigerator, drawers, and overhead storage. So you're not limited to making coffee or heating up a quick snack. You have the basic tools needed to prepare proper meals while you're on the road. The refrigerator gives you room for food and drinks, while the cabinets and drawers help keep cookware and everyday supplies organized. And thanks to the large windows and bright interior, the kitchen feels more open than you might expect from a vehicle of this size. But now comes the obvious question. When you put a proper kitchen inside a camper this compact, what had to be sacrificed to make room for it? Surprisingly, not as much as you might think. The layout appears to make almost every part of the interior work harder. The lounge can serve as a dining area. The front seats become part of the living space. Storage is built into the available walls and overhead areas. And toward the rear, there's something that many smaller camper vans struggle to provide: a dedicated sleeping area. The bedroom is designed to feel more permanent than the typical fold-out bed found in smaller camper vans. There's a substantial-looking mattress, soft bedding, windows, lighting, and storage, creating a space that feels more like a genuine bedroom than a temporary place to sleep. And that's a big advantage for long-distance travel. After spending an entire day driving, exploring, or hiking, you don't necessarily want to rearrange the entire interior just to go to bed. With a dedicated sleeping area, you can simply head to the rear, close the blinds, settle in, and call it a night. But there's there's still one feature that could completely change the experience of traveling in a camper this size. The bathroom. This is where the Toyota-based Motorhome really starts to separate itself from many compact camper vans. Inside this relatively small space, you have a bathroom area with a toilet, sink, mirror, and shower setup. It appears to use a compact wet bath-style layout, meaning the shower and toilet share the same enclosed space. Now, obviously, you're not getting the room of a residential bathroom. The space is compact, and taller travelers may find it more restrictive than the bathroom in a full-size RV. And because the shower and toilet share the same area, you'll also need to manage the space carefully after showering. But that's not really the point. The point is that you have a private bathroom inside a vehicle that's only around 6 meters long, and that changes the entire camping experience. You don't have to depend entirely on campground facilities or public restrooms. If you're traveling somewhere remote, stopping overnight, or simply want more privacy, having your own toilet and shower can make a huge difference. This is where the size versus functionality story becomes really impressive. From the outside, you see a relatively compact Toyota-based camper. Inside, you're getting a lounge, a kitchen, a dedicated bedroom, and a private bathroom. But now we have another question. How independent can this camper actually be? When you leave the campground, look at the roof, and you'll notice the solar panels. The vehicle also appears to have additional roof equipment for climate control or ventilation, along with an onboard electrical management system. That suggests this camper has been designed with at least some level of off-grid travel in mind. The exact solar wattage, battery capacity, inverter output, and water tank sizes aren't visible in these images, so I wouldn't claim specific numbers without confirmation. But the concept is clear. Solar panels can help replenish the onboard electrical supply, while the battery system stores energy for the camper's appliances and electronics. In practical terms, that could mean more freedom from electrical hookups, whether you're spending a weekend in the mountains, exploring the countryside, or simply looking for a quiet place to spend the night. Of course, actual off-grid endurance will depend on the battery capacity, solar output, water storage, weather, and how much power you use. There's also the side awning. It may look like a small detail, but once you arrive at your destination, it can dramatically expand your living space. Park the camper, extend the awning, put out a couple of chairs, and suddenly the area beside the vehicle becomes an outdoor living room. That's another advantage of this design. You're not carrying around a giant motorhome just to create a comfortable campsite. You're driving a relatively manageable vehicle that transforms into a complete living environment when you arrive. But before we talk about what's under the hood, there's another number that matters when you turn a van into a full motorhome: weight. A standard high-roof Toyota HiAce specification can have a gross vehicle weight of around 3,500 kilograms, with a reference curb weight of approximately 2,360 kilograms. On paper, that leaves roughly 1,140 kilograms of theoretical payload. But remember, this isn't an empty standard HiAce anymore. The conversion adds furniture, kitchen appliances, a refrigerator, bathroom equipment, toilet, water tanks, batteries, solar equipment, air conditioning, an awning, and all the other hardware needed for comfortable travel. Then add 2 adults, food, clothing, luggage, and camping equipment. Suddenly, that available payload becomes extremely important. So if you're considering a camper like this for serious long-distance travel, the final certified weight and remaining payload are numbers you absolutely need to check. Because a compact motorhome can be incredibly practical, but only when it's properly loaded. Now, let's talk about what's actually powering this entire setup. The exact engine specification of this particular conversion isn't confirmed by the images, but depending on the HiAce configuration, this platform can be powered by Toyota's 2.8-liter 1GD FTV turbo diesel, producing around 174 horsepower and 450 newton-meters of torque, with a 6-speed automatic transmission available on applicable configurations. That 450 newton-meters of torque is especially relevant for a camper because you're not moving an empty van. You're carrying furniture, appliances, water, camping gear, passengers, and potentially plenty of luggage. However, the exact engine, transmission, and drivetrain should be confirmed for the specific vehicle because HiAce specifications vary between markets and configurations. And now we've reached the question that almost everyone watching this video has been waiting for. How much does a Toyota HiAce-based luxury camper like this actually cost? The exact conversion shown in these images isn't clearly identified with a confirmed manufacturer MSRP, and the visible model labels appear to represent different variants or configurations. So, I wouldn't pretend there's one confirmed price for this exact vehicle. However, if we look at comparable, fully equipped Toyota HiAce-based luxury camper camper conversions, an estimated price range could be around $80,000 to $120,000, depending heavily on the market, chassis, conversion company, and equipment level. That's not a confirmed price for the exact camper shown here. It's a comparison-based estimate designed to give you an idea of what a conversion at this level could cost. And at that kind of price, the question becomes simple. Is it worth it? Well, it certainly isn't the biggest motorhome. It isn't the most powerful. And it isn't the cheapest way to travel. But it offers something that may be even more valuable: balance. You get a relatively compact vehicle that's potentially easier to drive than a massive RV, while still offering the features that actually matter when you're living on the road. A real kitchen, a dedicated bedroom, a private bathroom, solar power, storage, an outdoor awning, and a living area that transforms a Toyota-based van into something surprisingly close to a small apartment on wheels. The biggest achievement here isn't that someone managed to turn a Toyota HiAce into a giant motorhome. It's that they managed to create a complete travel experience without making the vehicle enormous. Because from the outside, you might look at this camper and wonder, how small is it? But after seeing everything inside, the question becomes something completely different. How much more could they possibly fit inside?